If you've ever finished a watercolor landscape and thought, it's not bad, but something's off, this video is for you. Because when a landscape feels dull or flat, almost everyone reaches for the same solution, more color. And the frustrating part is that the more color you add, the more overworked it can start to feel. So I'm going to show you the biggest color mistake in watercolor painting. And the twist is that the problem usually isn't color at all, because the painting starts working when you shift your focus away from color. So here's the reference I'm working from. It's moody, atmospheric, and full of depth. A cloudy gray sky, distant mountains, darker trees in the foreground, and small details like birds that bring life into the scene. It looks dark all over, but if you look closely, the colors themselves are visible but still very limited. Greens, grays, subtle browns. And a clue here for you is that what gives this photo its impact isn't any color in particular. It's the overall balance of the scene, not the palette. But watercolor can feel overwhelming, especially at first. So we tend to simplify the problem in our head and we focus on the objects or what's in the scene. For example, the green mountains, the brown rocks, the green trees. That's why oftentimes we translate what we see into color areas, hoping that if the colors are right, the painting will work. That's exactly what I'm doing now in this first version. After wetting the paper, I started with a light wash of Payne's Gray for the sky to capture the moody atmosphere. And now I'm adding a light brown to the distant mountains to suggest rock. And the wet paper helps keep everything soft and blurred since they're far away. In the foreground, I introduce greens, and I mix a deep green color called forest green with lemon yellow to vary the tones and make it more interesting than if I was to use forest green alone. Technically, everything makes sense. I'm working wet on wet for softness, I'm varying greens, I'm not overworking by letting the paint do its thing. I even start adding the foreground trees on dry paper so they stand out more clearly. And if you look at this painting on its own, it's fine, it's pleasant, clean, and nothing is very, very wrong. The only thing is that it feels a bit flat, could be improved. The mood from the reference isn't really there either, and the depth not that convincing. I even find that that main tree doesn't look like it's fully part of the scene, it looks pasted on. If you can relate to this in your own work, please let me know in the comments below. There are colors, and if it wasn't for that slightly darker tree, nothing truly pulls the eye. This is one example, and you might have a lot more of them in mind, as this is where many of us stop, especially in the beginning of the watercolor journey. Now, the real issue isn't that there isn't enough color, it's a lack of balance between colors. So I start again. I wet the sheet and paint the sky once more with Payne's Gray, just like before. Still very light at first. But this time I'm already thinking differently. I deliberately leave whites in the sky as these will act as the lightest and brightest tones for the balance to work. And I tap the brush on paper to create additional pockets of light that look natural. I'm not filling the entire sky evenly like before, and I'm planning contrast from the very beginning. And instantly, the sky does feel more alive, and not because it's darker, but because it has a better variation of color than the previous one. The very white and light parts have something to push against. In the lower part of the painting, I build a gradient of greens, darker near the bottom and lighter as it moves back into the distance. This is important because what's closer needs stronger contrast, and what's farther away should stay softer and lighter. While the paper is still wet, I add more Payne's Gray into the clouds, this time with more pigment, still tapping the brush to create that impression of fluffy clouds. Already, the painting feels much deeper than the entire first version, even though you'll notice I haven't added more colors or different colors, just paid more attention to creating contrast between colors with light, mid, and dark tones. And at this stage, something important happens. Each decision starts guiding you towards the next. That didn't happen in the first version because everything was sitting at the same color intensity. So in a way, it was like being back to square one with just blank paper, but with color instead. And here, the key thing to understand, and I think we can see it here, even if I stopped right now, this painting would already feel more finished than the first one. That's how powerful contrast is. But you can push further if you like to give a painting even more character and realism. For example here, once the paper is dry, I add more definition to the mountains with slightly creamier mixes. I let some lines stay sharper to bring the shape forward a bit, and I soften others with a clean, damp brush to keep the sense of distance. I darken the sky again, even more, and notice how easy this feels now. Thanks to the base I've painted, I'm not guessing. I'm just adjusting contrast, and I can also start adding more details and more texture with those strokes. How we use color is still important. Notice how I overlap them at the base of that mountain in the back. This is great because it creates a better color harmony between the brown parts and the green parts, so they don't look like they're separate. What's nice too is that if an area feels too dark, you can still lift paint with a damp brush and a paper towel. It's going to be subtle, but still. Look at how it strengthens a slight mist effect and the overall atmosphere. And this is how watercolor stays alive instead of becoming heavy. A good balance between light, mid, and dark tones. Now when I add the foreground trees, they don't feel pasted on like in the first version because the groundwork was laid much earlier. The darker greens I had painted at the base allow those trees to melt naturally into their surroundings. All I need to do is just use a clean and damp brush again to soften any harsh lines, so they do melt in that previous layer. You can see there's also a bit of strategy and planning in watercolor painting, and it's going to be very cliche, but doing that, planning and strategizing will get easier and become obvious to you as you practice. I add secondary trees with lighter tones, so the main ones still stand out as the focal point. That's where lemon yellow is so useful since I can get them to contrast even better by lightening my forest green a bit. Again, if I only had that forest green color, I would have had to rely on how much water I use with the paints to get the trees to contrast with each other. The problem is that for this foreground, it's helpful to work with thicker paints because that's where the focus is. I placed the birds near the main tree to strengthen the composition and guide the eye there even more. Sometimes you'll find that there's more adjusting to do for contrast and the overall balance to work. That's why I decided to add a few lines in the middle ground hills to suggest more movement and texture, since to me they're looking a bit flat and boring otherwise. Now notice how late these details come and how confident they feel, and it's all thanks to establishing good contrast from the get-go. When you look at the two paintings side by side, the difference is obvious. Same reference, same colors, same paper, same brushes, but a completely different result. The first painting focused on color, the second one focused on contrast, and while both work, and some of you might even prefer the first one, the second has way more character and atmosphere, and it also looks more realistic. And this is the biggest color mistake in watercolor. You think your painting is missing color, but it's actually missing contrast. And when you add more color without contrast, the painting gets maybe more vibrant, but still pretty flat because color doesn't create that depth. Contrast does. Whites need darks to shine, and darks need whites or very light tones to make sense. And watercolor, more than any other medium, depends on that balance. So next time, ask yourself where your strongest lights are and where your deepest darks should be. If you'd like to explore this approach further and paint landscapes with confidence, you'll find my watercolor courses linked in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time!